So I just got a question about a Mark V Model 500 rip fence, which I swear I talked about this, but maybe I didn't. So I've got a variety of Shopsmith Mark V, Mark VII rip fences up here. In fact, what's not up here is a 10ER or a 10E, the original machine from 1940s. I've got a couple. This is a very early Mark V from, again, about the mid-50s. This fence is from the, let's say, late 70s, also Mark V. This is a Mark VII from the 1960s, its rip fence. Here's a 510 rip fence from a Mark V Model 510. This is an early one, probably, and I'm looking at the end here, I can tell it's an earlier one, probably around 85 to, let's say, 80, sometimes in the 90s. And then this change had a plastic cap on the end. This is the 520 fence. And just around the time they were discontinuing the Mark V Model 500 and the 510 had been introduced, Shopsmith introduced a fence like this one. This is the one off of my bandsaw that uses the same aluminum profile as the 510 fence rail, but a unique clamping system here, identical to the one that is on the bandsaw. So why do I point all this out? Because we actually use some of the features of these various fences differently depending upon what tool we're using. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that, but my main focus today is to talk about the 500 fence system, this one, and this one. So the comment I received, somebody was just having a hard time getting their fence aligned on their table. And they said, you know, they kept adjusting the set screws on the face and they just wouldn't hold. That's a sign to me that whoever this person was didn't understand what these set screws are for. Those set screws are not for alignment. In fact, for normal sawing operations, you're going to want to back those completely off so that you don't see the tips of them protruding against the fence rail. That is where they would be contacting if we had those extended forward. In fact, to make sure that I never had a problem with these, I used to take those set screws out completely and place them into these two locations in the top of the miter gauge protractor. That way, if I ever needed them, I knew exactly where they were, and I can use them there to attach a stop rod or a feeler gauge for setting up the fence to make sure it's parallel to the blade. Why are they there if we're going to take them out? You're thinking ahead of me. Good question, though. So this is the earliest, the Mark V fence, and you'll notice that on this head of this fence, there's just a single set screw. It wasn't until years later that they decided to add a second set screw. So that should give you a clear indication that it's not exactly there for alignment, because that single set screw is only going to knock this fence out of alignment. There would be no way to move it back into alignment using the set screws. The way that you align this fence is using these bolts that attach the head of the fence to the body of the fence. Now, whenever I make this adjustment, if I'm going to be aligning this fence rail to the miter slot, I don't ever loosen both of these bolts because that's just going to make that entire head loose. It's only after you have one of those heads tightened in place that you can then accurately pivot this into position. Let me grab a wrench, and the wrench that fits this is a 1/2-inch wrench. And I'm going to put this up on this table. Now, this is just temporarily held in place. I don't have a Model 500 here in the shop. Let me reposition the camera. So I just have this, this Mark V Model 500 table just positioned on the end of the machine. You can see this isn't even properly supported, but you can get a pretty good idea of the difference in the size of the old Mark V Model 500 and the 510, 520 fence system and table system by seeing these two side by side. But the way that you would adjust this is assuming that your miter slots are parallel to your blade. and we did an alignment process on that on an earlier video. I should be able to bring this fence up next to one of the miter slots and tighten it down. And you'll notice that as you tighten this, turning the knob will tighten this little tongue right here, and that will pull this face tight against the rail on the front. Now, again, if those set screws were protruding out, it would pull it tight against the tip of those set screws. We don't want to do that. So back those set screws completely off or remove them. And then this should clamp our fence in place. Now, in fact, if I have it this crooked, just turning this handle will swing that fence in until that protractor is held tight against the front of the fence rail. And if I bring this over, and I'm just going to go by feel at this moment, I can feel right now without tightening it the full length. Tightening the full length would tighten this clamp back here tight against the back of the table. Locking it in place, this is especially important if we're going to be doing any boring or sanding against this fence. We'd want it to be able to lock tightly against the back. But it tightens at the front first. So with it just tightened on the front, loose on the back, I can loosen one or the other of these bolts. Now, I don't want to loosen both of them. It also helps if I remember which way, which way they turn in order to loosen them. Come on now. Boy, this helps if the table's actually attached to the machine. Goodness, I guess I'll try this one. Those are really tight. Oh, I'm obviously not the guy who tightened that. Anyway, I'm loosening this bolt right here, the one that's closest to the clamp. And with the other bolt still tight, I should now be able to tighten this against the front rail, and I should be able to force this to move a little bit left and right. And I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring you in a little closer. So I'm going to force this. I'm going to exaggerate this. I'm going to force this out of alignment. Got about 1/8 of an inch misalignment. I'm flush back here at the front, but I got about 1/8 of an inch there. Now I'm going to tighten that loose bolt here on the front. If you want to, you can tighten the clamp at the back for a moment. Okay, now that is all tightened in place. I should be able to remove the fence, move the fence, reposition the fence, and then when I come back to my original position here, tighten everything down, I have that same misalignment at the back. I don't want misalignment. If I'm ripping on the table saw, if anything, I want maybe a business card's thickness back there, not much misalignment at all. So let me loosen this again, and I'll show you where I would really want that to be. Right about there is where I would be happy. Tighten that down. And again, check it, bring it up. Nice. You'd think you'd want that to be perfectly straight, but there are situations where it can cause a little bit of a bind if your stock is moving ever so slightly. Maybe there's some sawdust building against the fence. It's possible that the stock that you've already cut is moving towards the back of the blade, the part of the blade where it's heading up. So having it slightly tapered off is ideal. So now you might be asking yourself, if I want a slight misalignment, and you said that set screw was for misalignment, why don't I just make that misalignment with the set screw? Good thought. Again, the problem is those set screws will move. because we're taking the fence off, we're moving it around, we're using it for all sorts of things, it's possible that that set screw will become loose. And unless you want to check it every single time you use the fence, which isn't a bad practice, it's going to drive you crazy using those set screws for alignment. Now, what kind of a misalignment would you be using this for? Well, if you were using your sanding disc here, and you're going to be sanding something to width, which is a trick we can do with this machine. Again, you would have a problem if you set the fence exactly the width that you want between the fence and the sanding disc, and you were to go straight into it, you would catch the edge of the sandpaper and peel it right off of the disc. Okay, so what if I offset the fence this way so that I'm moving my stock in between the disc and the fence is getting tighter to the disc? You're already sensing the problem. If the disc is spinning this direction, I'm catching the uphill side. So instead what we do is we extend the set screw on this end to cause the fence to go out of alignment this direction, and then we feed our stock from the back side of the machine. So it's getting tighter as it's going in between the fence and the disc. And when it does meet the disc, the paper is moving downhill. That is why on the earliest versions of the Mark V Model 500 fence, there's just one set screw. And the set screw is in the position that would cause the fence to swing that direction. Brilliant. Why did they change that? I don't know. But when the 510 was introduced, they went back to a single set screw. And when the Mark VII of modern times was introduced, you'll notice there's no set screw at all. Well then, how does Shopsmith expect you to do that sanding operation with this style of fence? Well, they reintroduced the conical sander. With a conical sander, you don't offset your fence at all because the sanding disc itself is moving away from the fence because of the cone shape. It's really quite brilliant. Now, the last version of the Mark V Model 500 fence that was introduced was based on this design. I mentioned this is a design that is currently being used for the bandsaw, if you're going to be doing any resawing on your bandsaw. It also has two set screws in the face. It's got four cap head machine screws on the bottom. And it's got a kind of a unique way of clamping. I don't even know how to describe the way that pinches. Instead of this one, which has a pivoting tongue, this tongue is moving straight in and out. So we're only relying on this knob to do the clamping on the front rail. And then to lock against the back rail, we have a separate clamp. This was something that was borrowed from the 510 fence system from the 1980s. Now, in anticipation of this video, I looked at the possibility of buying a Mark V Model 500 modern upgrade fence. There was one on eBay, but it was going for too much, and Shopsmith has them for sale. And for something I'm never going to use, I'm just not able to justify the price. But if you've got a Mark V Model 500 and you like it, and you just want to have the best possible fence system for it, this style of fence is nice. Now, the one thing you do give up when you purchase this fence is you'll notice that in the old 500 model fence, there's a 5/8 inch hole. We use this for a couple things, but mostly to attach a hold down for the mortising machine. So if you do any chisel mortising, then you have to upgrade the hold down to the same one that was introduced for the Mark V Model 510, which uses a T-nut that slides into the T-slot on the top of the fence rail. It's always something, isn't it? Yes, it is. Hey, and just for fun, take a look at this fence from the Magna line table saw. Magna was the company that made the Mark V back in the, well, a couple Magna companies, Magna Engineering, Magna American, Magna Power Tools. But this fence from that table saw back there is based on the 500 model fence system. Even though they did change it a little bit to integrate a rack and pinion so that you could slide the fence along the rails, but this knob is going to close the clamp in on the fence rail and also tighten up the back clamp. But check out the difference in the size of this fence. That's crazy. Even compared to the modern Mark VII fence, it's huge. Hey, the cool thing about all this is, over the years as Shopsmith has made these modifications, you could have followed along with them. And you can even leap over multiple models of machines and get into today's machine if it's something that you really desire. But none of these fence systems are bad at all once you understand how they work. If you got a Model 500 fence system, just know the set screws are for misalignment. Keep that in mind and make it a great day.